changes like flood, drought, fire and disease can often be managed by the Earth's ecosystem, but human activities can have devastating and even irreversible effects on the environment. Some of the threats humans bring include habitat loss, pollution, climate change, the introduction of non-native species, and wildlife crime. Now we're going to take a look at a few of these threats. Unfortunately, human exploitation of our environment is one of the biggest threats to wildlife. Let's take a look at some of the main issues. Urbanisation and the development of buildings and roads has led to habitat loss throughout the country. Animals become cut off from each other in small, unconnected areas with limited space to find shelter and food. Agriculture, forestry and urban developments have also had an impact on water flow and its quality, arising from drainage, diversion and straightening of our rivers. The drainage of peatland habitats, either for fuel or for the use in gardens, is also a major problem as it's an important CO2 storage for the planet. It's becoming increasingly important to prevent carbon dioxide getting into the atmosphere as it contributes to global warming. Intensive farming has resulted in the loss of flower meadows, hedgerows and trees, all of which are vital habitats for pollinating insects such as bees, with knock-on effects for species further up the food chain. Overgrazing from deer and sheep and the increase of non-native forestry plantations have had a negative impact on our native woodlands. Less than 20% of Scotland's landmass now supports woodland, which is far below the 46% European average. Even the seabed isn't safe. Commercial fisheries with bottom trawlers and scallop dredgers cause lots of damage when they drag their gear across the seabed. Pollution is another human factor that leads to deterioration in the quality of these habitats. Pollution can include plastic waste, light and noise, or chemicals in the water, soil and the air. Light pollution in towns and cities can have a negative impact on nocturnal animals such as bats and even interfere with bird migration times. Atmospheric pollution from fossil fuel burning and vehicle emissions reduces air quality and causes formation of acid rain, which increases the pH in our waterways. This is a measure of the acidity. It poisons our soil and kills plants and animals. Too much nitrogen in the air has produced a decline of more than 60% of our wildflower species, and that in turn has impacted on the species of moth larvae and other invertebrates that depend on them. Grassland covers around 1/4 of Scotland, but less than 1% of this is actually wildlife rich, mostly due to the use of chemicals, including fertilisers, herbicides, pesticides that are sometimes used in farming practices. Garden pesticides and slug pellets have toxic chemicals that can be passed up the food chain, harming predators like hedgehogs and birds. But pollution is not all on land. Nutrient runoff into our streams and rivers from farmland has led to algal blooms that can quickly reduce the oxygen levels and suffocate and smother marine plants and bottom-dwelling species. Marine litter, including millions of tonnes of plastic and microplastics, have also become a serious threat and are now finding their way through the food chain into the guts of fish, shellfish, seabirds and even sea mammals. Climate change could have serious implications for our native wildlife and for humans. Changing weather patterns, for example, warmer summers, longer periods of drought, or more flooding will all have a knock-on effect to our wildlife. Mammals such as badgers, hedgehogs and moles that eat insects that favour wetter weather could be threatened by climate change. Also, any shift in the seasons could affect the survival of birds who have synchronised their migratory travel with food availability. Temperature increases could interfere with the timing of key events, like the arrival of spring. This could confuse the internal clocks of wildlife, causing misalignments with peak times for food and mating. Humans are estimated to be the cause, either deliberately or accidentally, of around 10 non-native species becoming resident in the UK each year. And with it, they bring a variety of threats. Some spread disease that only natives are susceptible to, like the American grey squirrel, who passes the pox virus onto our native reds. Others outcompete native species, such as the American mink and the native water vole. Even our domestic cats have been hybridising with our native wildcat. It's not all animals though. The majority of woodland in Scotland is non-native plantation. This doesn't support the same wealth of wildlife that native woodland supports. Sadly, crimes against Scotland's wildlife continue to be an all too common occurrence and affect a wide range of wildlife and habitats. Examples include the illegal trade in endangered species, hare coursing, egg collecting, badger baiting. They can result in animals suffering cruel and inhumane deaths and can make endangered species even rarer. Check out our wildlife crime video to find out more.